When a middle-class Californian named Larry Fink launched a tiny boutique investment outfit in 1988, no one imagined it would soon control nearly $10 trillion in assets. But from the ashes of that first painful loss at First Boston, Larry would go on to build BlackRock, an investment empire whose mastery of technology and risk would reshape global markets forever. Lawrence Douglas Fink was born on November 2, 1952, in Van Nuys, California, a far cry from the towering skylines and high-stakes boardrooms of Wall Street, where his future empire would be forged. The son of a shoe store owner and an English professor, Larry grew up in a modest, middle-class household. It was a sunlit but grounded upbringing, shaped by discipline, pragmatism, and an early appreciation for the value of education. From an early age, Fink displayed a curiosity about systems, how things worked, why they failed, and what made them succeed. But his academic path didn't initially signal a future titan of finance. He enrolled at UCLA, majoring not in economics or finance, but political science. Still, his intellectual range was wide. After completing his undergraduate studies, he pursued an MBA with a focus on real estate, a field then emerging as a frontier of financial innovation. It was during his MBA years that Larry began to feel the gravitational pull of finance. He saw in it a complex, ever-evolving system that mirrored both opportunity and danger. More than anything, he sensed that behind every market movement was a set of risks, some calculable, others invisible, that demanded mastery. And he was determined to become fluent in that language. This was not the journey of a financial prodigy born with a silver spoon. It was one of a young man meticulously carving his path through books, lectures, internships, and long nights of study. For Larry, success wouldn't be inherited. It would be engineered. And it was this precise blend of humble beginnings and relentless academic ambition that would become the foundation for one of the most influential careers in financial history. Armed with his MBA and a hunger to make his mark, Larry Fink stepped into the financial world through the doors of First Boston, a prestigious investment bank. There, he joined the firm's mortgage-backed securities division, a space few truly understood at the time, but one ripe with potential for someone who could decode its complexities. It didn't take long for Fink to rise. Within a few years, he had built the division into a juggernaut, generating over $1 billion in profits. Larry had found his rhythm, pioneering the securitization of mortgages, effectively creating new financial instruments that allowed banks to bundle home loans and sell them to investors. It was a seismic shift in how debt was managed and traded. But then came the misstep, a costly one. A wrong bet on interest rates led to a major loss, reportedly costing the firm $100 million. For Fink, this wasn't just a professional setback, it was a personal reckoning. He had tasted the euphoria of financial innovation and now the sting of unchecked risk. The experience etched a deep lesson into his psyche. Success in finance wasn't just about making money. It was about managing what could go wrong. This failure didn't cripple him. It catalyzed him. It was here, in the aftermath of that mistake, that the seed of BlackRock was quietly planted in Fink's mind. He envisioned a new kind of investment firm, one that wouldn't just chase returns, but anticipate risk with scientific precision. A firm that would integrate technology not as a support tool, but as the very backbone of its strategy. The idea was revolutionary. At a time when Wall Street worshipped instinct and bravado, Larry Fink began designing a world where data, analysis, and prudence would reign supreme. By the late 1980s, Larry Fink was ready to turn his vision into reality, but he couldn't do it alone. What he needed was not just a team, but true believers, people who saw what he saw, a finance industry vulnerable to risk, yet blind to it. And more importantly, a better way forward. That turning point came in 1988, when Larry, along with 7 like-minded colleagues, left the comfort of established institutions to create something audacious. A firm that would prioritize risk management and technological insight over speculation. They called it BlackRock. But vision alone wouldn't fund a company. Larry approached Stephen Schwartzman at the Blackstone Group, pitching a new kind of investment business. The proposal resonated. Blackstone backed the venture, giving Fink and his co-founders the financial runway to take flight. Among those co-founders was Robert S. Capito, who brought an unwavering focus on client relationships, and Susan Wagner, a strategist who would go on to architect the Aladdin platform, BlackRock's revolutionary risk analytics system. Each founding member brought a different lens to the project: analytics, relationship management, innovation. But they were united by a singular principle. Investors deserved clarity, stability, and tools once reserved for the elite. They weren't just building a company. They were rewriting the rulebook. And yet, not everyone was convinced. On Wall Street, their ideas were labeled and proven too academic or simply naive. Tech and finance had not yet merged in the way Silicon Valley and Wall Street would eventually collide. BlackRock was ahead of its time, but Larry didn't flinch. His faith in the model was unshakable. The firm wouldn't rely on gut instinct or flashy trades. It would build a platform capable of dissecting risk across portfolios, asset classes, and economic cycles. It would offer clients not just returns, but resilience. BlackRock was no longer just an idea. It was a mission and a team ready to reshape finance from the ground up. In 1988, BlackRock was born, not in a glass tower or on the floor of a stock exchange, but in a modest office space with a bold ambition to transform how the world manages money. The firm's early focus was narrow, fixed-income investments, but its approach was anything but conventional. While others followed market noise, BlackRock listened to data. From day one, Larry Fink and his team prioritized transparency, risk control, and technology. These weren't just buzzwords. They were the pillars of the company. BlackRock's first major innovation came in the form of Aladdin, a name that would soon become legendary in investment circles. More than just software, Aladdin was a risk management and portfolio analytics platform that offered a unified, real-time view of an investment firm's entire exposure. For clients used to blind spots and fragmented systems, it was like turning on the lights in a dark room. Clients came, then they stayed. As Wall Street marveled, and occasionally scoffed, BlackRock expanded its offerings. The firm moved into mutual funds, institutional asset management, and alternatives. All the while, its core remained unchanged: analyze deeply, manage risk aggressively, and stay ahead of the curve. A key strength was the balance of its leadership. Larry the visionary, Capito the client strategist, and Wagner the systems architect each played a pivotal role. And together, they made BlackRock a firm that wasn't just surviving, but setting the pace. By the early 2000s, BlackRock was managing hundreds of billions in assets. But what truly set it apart was trust. In an industry marred by opacity and short-termism, BlackRock had become a name synonymous with clarity and consistency. They weren't the loudest on Wall Street, but they were becoming the most trusted. And in the years ahead, trust would become their greatest asset. 2008 was the year that nearly broke global finance. Banks collapsed, trust evaporated, and trillions in wealth were erased. But while much of Wall Street scrambled for cover, BlackRock stood tall, steady in the storm, armed with a tool it had spent decades refining: Aladdin. That year, Larry Fink's firm didn't just protect its own assets. It became the go-to advisor for governments, central banks, and financial institutions trying to navigate the wreckage. BlackRock helped dissect toxic portfolios, manage distressed assets, and design recovery strategies. The firm wasn't just managing money, it was helping save the system itself. Then came the transformational moment. In 2009, BlackRock acquired Barclays Global Investors for $13.5 billion. With that came iShares, the industry-leading ETF platform. Overnight, BlackRock became the largest asset manager in the world. It wasn't just big, it was now the epicenter of global investing. But size brought scrutiny. With trillions under management and its technology influencing decisions at every level of finance, BlackRock was no longer just a company. It was a systemically important force. And Larry Fink knew it. He responded not with retreat, but with reinvention. Post-2008, BlackRock doubled down on sustainability. Fink began using his annual letters to CEOs not to boast about returns, but to demand accountability on climate change, social impact, and corporate governance. It was a bold move and a controversial one. Critics accused BlackRock of overreach. Others saw leadership. Behind it all was Fink's original vision: a firm that managed risk, embraced innovation, and used its influence to shape a more stable world. A company that could be trusted, not just to generate wealth, but to guard against the very forces that once nearly brought everything crashing down. Today, Larry Fink remains at the helm. But the man who once stumbled over a single bad bet has created an empire of staggering scope and influence, built on the idea that with great power must come great responsibility. Today, BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets, more than the GDP of most countries. Its clients span the globe: pension funds, governments, corporations, and individual investors all rely on the firm's expertise. Aladdin has evolved into an industry standard, used not only by BlackRock but by countless other institutions to assess risk and optimize portfolios. The firm's influence extends beyond finance. It plays a central role in shaping corporate governance and ESG practices worldwide. Headquartered in New York, BlackRock continues to expand its reach across markets, technologies, and ideologies. Yet, at its core, it remains true to Larry Fink's original promise: to bring clarity to complexity and stability to uncertainty. From a modest Californian upbringing to reshaping the global financial order, Larry Fink's journey is a testament to what vision and conviction can build. BlackRock is more than a firm, it's a force. But the deeper legacy is not the trillions it manages, it's the belief that finance, when guided by foresight and responsibility, can be a stabilizing power in an unpredictable world. The question now: how will BlackRock shape what comes next?